Hello and welcome back to the woods at Lone Pine Tarot. I hope you're having a peaceful day or night wherever you are. Recently, I asked you all in a community poll what kinds of readings you've been most drawn to lately, and by far the most popular answer was exploring your next chapter. So thank you to everyone who voted. Your voices became the inspiration for today's reading. So today we'll be exploring that precise next chapter, what's beginning to shift behind the scenes, what opportunities may be drawing closer, and of course, what Spirit wants you to know as that trail ahead begins to clear. Now, let's take a look at your choices for piles today. Over here on the left for pile 1, your pile leader is Owl. In the middle for pile 2, your leader is the Alder tree. And on the right for pile 3, your leader is the Headless rider. Pause here if you need a little more time to choose, but when you're ready, your timestamp is waiting in the description below. I'll see you in reading. Hello there, pile number 1. Welcome to your next chapter reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the owl for your pile leader. So when I look at owl, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the traditional symbolism. The owl is a symbol of course, wisdom, because of mostly its association with Athena, but the owl is also a creature that has been associated in some cultures with being able to see the other side, being a messenger from the other side because of its ability to see and pierce through the dark as it, of course, as we all know, a nocturnal bird when it hunts especially. So that makes me think this next chapter is a lot about extracting wisdom from life. Now, I know that's common with every single chapter we have in our lives, but this one especially, I'm feeling intuitively, is a chapter of your life where there's going to be a lot of learning being done. And I don't mean that in the way of like extra hardships. So don't take it as in like, I'm going to go to like the advanced placement class of, in the school of the hard knocks of life, right? But I am seeing that this is a very important milestone chapter for you in terms of the growth of your soul. At least that's what I'm feeling intuitively. And on top of that, because of the owl's ability to see so clearly and so piercingly through the dark, I think it's also a new chapter of a lot of revelations for you. A lot of realizations, big or small, though I feel like there might be at least one big one as I'm kind of picking up on as I'm tapping in with Spirit here, but at least some smaller ones too. So let's look at your other cards. We will see if some of that is highlighted, especially with your first tarot cards. So calling on Spirit for the highest best good of pile 1 today. Could you tell me more about the themes of this next chapter for them? What's coming ahead? Thank you. For their highest best good, as always, as I said. Well, this one is quite prominent. We have the 10 of Pentacles reversed. Might have to be something to do with legacy or with generational things being passed down or passing the torch on in some way, even if it's not literally family. Although with it being reversed, I do see that this might be a piece of advice or one of the lessons that I was mentioning before. So we'll keep going. We'll see what else pops out, but that is the first prominent theme here for you. But then we have the Devil reversed, which is a great card to get reversed, as it means being freed from something. And then we have another major arcana. We have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is about spiritual authority. And that's what I was saying before, is like I think there's going to be a lot of spiritual lessons in this next chapter for you, pile 1. And that Hierophant makes me think of that, especially in terms of your spiritual authority. Not so much the traditional meaning of the Hierophant, meaning as in, like, for example, obviously, like, it depicts, like originally it was, like, the Pope card, okay? So we think of spiritual authority in terms of, like, this outside source, but I'm feeling for you, this next chapter is about your internal authority, listening to yourself more about your spirituality than anybody else. And even if you're sitting there saying, well, I already do that, Lone Pine, I feel like this particular next chapter is especially emphasized about you deciding where you want to go with your spirituality, I think based on these lessons that are cropping up, but we'll look at your first tarot spread card. We have the Queen of Cups. Speaking of listening to ourselves and divining eternal wisdom, the Queen of Cups is often about listening to our heart and being secure with our heart, especially when it comes to relationships and our feelings, but it can also represent a person. Maybe you are a water sign, feminine, pile 1, or it could mean that there's someone who is a feminine water sign who is important to this next chapter. So, as I said, yes, it's going to be a chapter of a lot of wisdom gaining, a lot of lessons. As I said already, spiritual authority is one. We talked about that, so I won't repeat. But we also have the devil reversed, as I said, is about freeing ourselves. We're freeing ourselves from the chain of the authority of others that might not have the best intentions for us. And we're also freeing ourselves from maybe some legacy things, speaking of the Ten of Pentacles reversed, that weren't in our favor, okay? As the Ten of Pentacles reverse, like I said, can mean having some struggles alongside the lines of generations passing things down. So it could be too that like what you learned spiritually when you were very young, like your formative family influenced spiritual beliefs, which, I mean, it's not saying necessarily to throw them out here in this next chapter or that you will, pile one, but at the same time, I think that internal spiritual authority is going to become so prominent that you might kind of tweak some of the things that you haven't already with your like initial spirituality when you were young based on your family, or like generations in your family have passed down, okay? Not necessarily to say that they were like toxic beliefs, which, I mean, they could be for some of you, but even just, I don't know, it's like a redefinition I'm hearing here of the way that you see the world, especially thinking about the owl and how it perceives the world so much differently. Very curious. Especially when it comes to listening to your own heart too, kind of blocking out opinions from others and not necessarily disregarding guidance, but listening to yourself more. It's a lot of internal listening in this next chapter, okay? And then let us look at your next oracle card here from the Dream Ritual Oracle. Spirit, what else would you like to say to pile one about this next chapter of theirs? Any themes? Anything else? Thank you. I'm drawn to this one right here. We have, compassion. Compassion from others in this next chapter, and also self-compassion. I wonder if there might even be some things from earlier in your life that you kind of regret regarding family or those earlier beliefs in some way, or it could also mean in general that you regret too ways that you felt restricted before in life up until this point, hence, the meaning of the devil being reversed in freeing oneself from something. Compassion for maybe the way that you followed other things that weren't necessarily true to self that you realize in this chapter of your life, and you're like, okay, well, you get to that point where you kind of feel like, oh man, I feel stupid. I feel like I should have questioned that more, or I feel like that really wasn't true to what I was or who I am, but I followed it because that's what society told me or what my family told me or my friends, etc. And so part of your wisdom in your lesson here in this next chapter is that self-compassion, pile one, forgiving oneself for that, because, I mean, number one, it's not like it was, something that's like some unforgivable offense. Okay, so don't be so hard on yourself. We all fluctuate our beliefs throughout our lifetime, and we all kind of are always redefining who and what we are based on our experiences. It's kind of part of, right, the purpose of living here on Earth is redefining who we are and growing as souls, at least in my personal belief. But it's also compassion from authority figures, too. I'm hearing that. Compassion, and that I think you'll be freed from some things due to the influence of others, perhaps that feminine water sign, if you're not recognizing that Queen of Cups as yourself, too. And then let's look at your main tarot spread to see the full breadth of this, okay? So maybe a bit of a timeline, too, of the next chapter, too. Spirit, can you tell me more about the timeline of this next chapter for pile one? Thank you. And other themes, of course, as well. Also, freeing oneself from toxic generational trauma. That's another thing there with the devil reversed next to the Ten of Pentacles reversed, if I didn't mention that before, which I don't think I did. And then your first tarot card today from the main spread is the Page of Spires, or Swords as it's known in most decks. We have someone looking from the perspective of being up in a hot air balloon. And that's exactly what I was saying before, pile one. So it's a bit repetitive, but it's good to see the synchronicity in that it's about different perspectives, because that's exactly what Pages of Swords do. They explore their students, their learners, especially when it comes to the way we view things mentally, the way we create ideas, the way that our minds are, our mental energy, okay? And just like, this person in the hot air balloon, it's like this new chapter of your life is being lifted up in some way and seeing the landscape a lot more clearly than you used to. Almost like an owl would flying. Seeing it more crystal clear than what was available before. And then we have the Three of Tides or Cups reversed, okay? That can mean there are also some lessons, though, regarding social groups and our connections to other people. I wonder if, too, you might be reevaluating not just a lot of your spirituality or, like, your beliefs or, like, early family-related beliefs too, like I said, but you might also be reevaluating a lot of your relationships in this next chapter, because the Three of Cups reversed can mean energy that's like cutting out certain friends, cutting out certain social events or like social obligations. It's a very social activity kind of card, and especially when it's reversed, it's like, okay, blocking that energy, letting go of it. It can also mean working through some struggles with that. So if you already have been having some issues with social stuff recently, I do see that kind of continuing into this next chapter, but the beauty is that because of that Devil reversed especially, it's like that's another thing that you're going to be freeing yourself from in this next chapter, okay? Because you're seeing things a lot more clearly, there is a lot more information given to you that you can finally pierce through the veil, just like the owl does, seeing through the dark. Then we have the Two of Branches, or Wands as it's known in most decks, especially as your Heart of the Matter card. The Two of Wands is about planning for the future. There's going to be a lot of future focus here. So it's not just seeing clearly in things around you, Pile 1. It's going to be a chapter of, now I can make plans for the future. I wonder if a lot of you have been trying to go forward with plans recently, or not necessarily going forward with them. I guess I'll rescind that. But you've been maybe considering making plans for something in the recent past. And I think some of you, it might have been like, you kept, for some reason, like you were being denied the information that you needed, or it's like for some reason you couldn't grasp onto the knowledge that you needed to go forward. And I'm hearing the reason why is because of divine timing. You weren't meant to go forward with those plans or start making them, more to be more precise, until this next chapter. And that's really the overarching theme of the next chapter, because this is your Heart of the Matter card, is, okay, now I'm going to look at this landscape. I'm going to plan out this map between where I am and where X marks the spot with the treasure or the goal that I'm trying to find, okay? You have that ability because of this new authority and this new freedom to move forward. And I think maybe letting go of some of those negative social connections might be part of that. I think that might free up more of your time to do these things, Pile 1. Or same thing too, like if you got let go of toxic friend group, that frees up time, obviously, or maybe not necessarily your favorite social obligations. That also frees up more time for you to do other things too. So it's a lot too of a next chapter of like clearing the board and clearing the slate, clearing your space out with old energy and bringing in new energy, or at least planning for it there with the Two of Wands. And, you know, even too, I forgot to mention before, I think I mentioned it, but I kind of see this main tarot spread as a timeline as well. The very beginning of this next chapter for you is that Page of Swords energy of, okay, now I'm going to start looking at these things from higher, different perspectives. And then, soon after, I think you'll consider cutting out some of those toxic social connections or lowering those social obligations. And then the main chunk of this next chapter is going to be that planning ahead. All right, that's the main core theme, the main core event, so to speak. But let's, of course, look into the future after that, too, with this next chapter. We have the Great Work, but reversed. Now, for those of you familiar with tarot, you're probably like, what the heck is this card? It's one of those cards that's not specific to every single deck. It's very much so a Mindscapes tarot card. And the Great Work tends to be, you know, the work of spirit or the work of ourselves in terms of, like, life purpose on this earth. I think because it's reversed right now, a lot of this recalibrating that you've been doing, or you will be doing very soon, I should say, is a lot about, like, what's my purpose in life? What am I here for? What is my quote-unquote great work? Or what is my magnum opus? That's another really good term to use with this particular card, because it is reversed right now. So it's almost like we haven't gotten to that sunrise quite yet. We're still maybe peering at the stars when the night is still dark, as we're sorting through some of these toxic things that we're letting go to let in some more positive spirituality and positive things in our life, okay? So you're still kind of in a little bit of a dark night of the soul, although I don't see it as like it had been a tower moment, so to speak. Like, maybe not completely like a bad time of life, but it necessarily wasn't necessarily like the best time of your life recently either, because of these things that you're considering maybe cutting out. But once you get there, Pile 1, once you get there, you'll find a realignment with that purpose. I think through that spirituality, and I think after you make these plans, you'll realize, okay, this is the direction I want to orient myself towards. So another really good symbol to use, and you might see this in synchronicities or signs from your spirit guides, I'm hearing is a compass, like orienting yourself, figuring out what direction you want to go in. Okay, so just keep that in mind whenever you're feeling a bit lost in this next chapter. Keep thinking about, like, ask your spirit guides, show me an image of a compass somewhere, or some sort of like directional thing. Maybe a map, maybe whatever it might be, or what you might use. Even constellations sometimes, I mean, because those were used in antiquity, and even today, to orient people on where to go or what to follow, okay? Then you realize, okay, that is my great work. And I wonder if it might be related to freeing others or helping others with toxic family patterns or toxic social situations, or it could also be a really good life purpose you might orient yourself towards too. I'm hearing for some of you is literally that compassion we just talked about. Okay. So we'll go on with your last card here. We have the Hermit as the final card. Kind of similar to what we were talking about before, so we have some more synchronicity. It's always good. The Hermit is about going within, not necessarily being as social, which we talked about that before with the Three of Cups reversed, but it's reaffirmed here with the Hermit as the outcome with, yes, it's going to be a little bit more of an introverted time for you. And doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have any social outings. Of course, I think you'll probably still do things with people if you desire to, but the Hermit is very much so somebody who is, I'm going to go in my cave now. I'm going to figure things out. And especially, speaking of wisdom, like the owl we said at the very beginning, the Hermit, what he does in that solitude is seeks that wisdom, seeks the truth of life away from the influence and the thinking of others. So I think it's going to be quite the introspective time for you. And it's interesting too, because remember before I was like, well, you're not quite at that sunrise yet at this point with the great work reversed. But then what do you see in the background of the Hermit's cave here? You see the sun rising in the very distance. So it's like you're finally at that point of there's the dawn of the new chapter, like the full, now we turn the page and now it says next chapter. Whereas like everything up to this point, I think is kind of the transitional phase into the next chapter. Of course, in and of itself, that would make it a next chapter too, I guess. But you know what I mean? This is like the big start, especially with it being a major arcana card. Okay. The big start to all of that. Beautiful. Let me see if there's any other themes. I'm also looking for elemental associations here. Kind of all over the board. We have fire with wands. We have water with cups. We have air with swords. We have, earth with pentacles. You do have a majority more water than anything, though. So water in a reading I would read as this tends to be a more emotional time. This tends to be more of a time of considering our relationships, which, we already discussed, of course, with the Three of Cups reversed energy. And also just getting in touch with our feelings and our own heart again. Maybe recently you felt like you kind of had to keep your heart quiet. You've had to kind of put it away on a shelf because other demands in life were getting in the way. But now this new chapter is, okay, I can see clearly. I have the time to introspect now that I let go of some of those other things that weren't serving me anymore. And now I can be the authority of my own life and look towards that future and free myself, like the Devil Reverse says, and work on that great work. Not that you already haven't done great work, Pile 1. Everything we do every day, no matter how small, at least I personally believe, is a part of our life purpose, is a part of our plan. But I think you're scooping into something pretty good here. Something very important, or pivotal is probably a better word to say than good, although it's also good, I'm feeling, as well, because of that dawn imagery and the compassion card too. So looking forward to it, Pile 1, for you. And I hope you're looking forward to it too. So keep planning. Don't be afraid to cut social ties that are no longer serving you. Don't be afraid to explore, especially when it comes to your mind and spirituality. That's a very big theme, especially with the Hermit and the Page of Swords. And don't forget, be compassionate to yourself as you go through these realizations. Okay? Choose compassion. And that is a reading today on your next chapter, and I hope Number one, that it helped you, that you liked it. Also, that it resonated with your situation. If so, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much if you choose to do those things. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night, Pile 1. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye. Hello there, Pile number 2. Welcome to your next chapter reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the beautiful alder tree for your pile leader today. Now, first and foremost, the alder tree is a symbol of protection, of being safe, of being protected from negative influences, especially because traditionally it is, I believe, a tree that tends to be around like the edges of marshes and swamps, and a lot of different cultures saw it as something not only spiritual, but something that guards from negative energies. Okay? So also, I think, number one, if you've been feeling kind of unsafe recently for some reason, or kind of unsecure in some way, this is Spirit reassuring you that this next chapter is going to feel a lot more protected, okay? But on top of that, I wonder too if you might see a lot more support from those around you, or in general, it kind of feels like, I know they're showing me a cushion underneath you in this next chapter from the universe. It's like the universe comes forward and is like this really, I don't know why. It's a specific image, but it's like a beautiful blue satin or velvet cushion that they just kind of hold you with. It's underneath you. And so I guess one theme really to keep in mind here for this next chapter is things are going to be a bit more cushy, just to use a more common term, more modern day term. But yes, beautiful. You're protected. You are safe. That's what they wanted to emphasize to you first today. But, of course, we will look at your other cards and see what else pops out for your next chapter. Spirit, what other themes do you want to tell Pile 2 about today for their upcoming period of time here? Thank you. We have beautiful temperance, balance, moderation. I wonder if a lot of that feeling of things not being secure kind of felt like things were on shaky foundations in this recent past for you, because the temperance card often means, okay, things are going to finally get back to equilibrium again. It's more about moderation, and kind of like the way that she's pouring the water between the cups. It's like, okay, we're going to get back to things being a little bit more balanced now. Wonder if you might also get the Two of Pentacles, but let's see. We have the Page of Wands reversed. Okay, could be an opportunity here for you in the near future, or some advice. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Could also be a person, but we'll see what other cards pop out around it. And look at that, another court card for the Wands, but it's the Queen of Wands this time reversed. Okay. Same thing with the Page. Could be a person, could be some advice. And then we have, oh my god, look at all these Wands reversed, Pile 2. What is this? Okay, that's very funny. I don't think I've ever had a reading before with that many reversed Wands court cards coming out. Interesting. Okay, so I'll tell you this. First thing that pops out prominently is because the court cards can represent people, I think there's a lot of influence from other people in this near future for you. And remember what I said before about the Alder, about it being like protection in numbers too, or like people around you supporting you, that kind of cushioned feeling. I think the reason why you are especially protected in this near future is because you're going to be working on reducing a lot of issues regarding, now the Wands cards can be multiple things. They can be, especially reversed issues with creativity. Maybe you've been feeling a lot of writers or like artist block recently if you're a creative person, or even if it's not necessarily a creative passion, it could be something that uses your creativity. But maybe recently it kind of feels like that tap turned off. You're like, why is this dry? Why is this well dry? But it could also be recently that you've been feeling a lot of conflict in terms of being passionate about something. Maybe you've been really, really burnt out, hence all these reversed Wands cards. That's a very common symptom of a lot of reversed Wands cards, or could also mean to, you've just kind of lost your spark in things, especially when it comes to, it's interesting because there's so many reversed Wands cards. They feel almost like a family to me. I wonder if a lot of you are feeling kind of dispassionate about a family thing recently. But even if not family, as I said, because they can represent people, a Page of Wands reversed would be a fire sign, neither gender necessarily. kind of youthful energy, even if not physically youthful, and can be a bit immature with their passions. Maybe they kind of blurt things out, things like that. The Queen of Wands reversed can be someone who's a little vain. Maybe there's a feminine figure, fire sign, that's been a little vain recently that you've been having issues with too. And then we have the King of Wands reversed, and him as a person can be masculine energy, once again, fire sign, because wands, and tends to be someone who is maybe a little aggressive with their words. Maybe they got a bit of a temper, like hot fire kind of gone out of control or gone wrong, okay? So maybe that's what all that chaos in the recent past has been, that you've been, because maybe as soon as I said protection and balance with the Temperance card and the Alder tree, you were like, thank God, because maybe these people have been causing problems with you recently. Okay, you've been trying to reduce their influence, you've been trying to fix all of that, but as I said too, it doesn't have to be people, it could also just be internal energy as well. So I think this chapter is a lot about, because it's reversed, fixing these issues in your life with passion, with burnout, with creativity too. That was the other word that I remember saying, or I wanted to use. So, not so much fire out of control. We're putting the fire out, fixing it, and then rekindling it in a more moderate way. But let's keep going. We'll see what your other cards say. Speaking of the Dream Ritual Oracle. Up next, Spirit, what else do you want to tell Pile 2 about this next chapter? And that's why I said they're family, because, or for some of you, potentially it's family, because, I mean, that's a lot of similar types of people, all from the same court there, so. We have, trust. Speaking of fire, it's literally a candle, too. Sparking that again after, as I said, some of you might have been really burnt out recently, so we're sparking that candle once more, that candle flame of passion, of interest, not so much being burnt out anymore. And trust, too, can mean, of course, trusting in others again. Being able to rely on others again. Especially combining that with the meaning of the Alder of support from around you, protection from around you. You know, Pile 2, I feel like a lot of you are cutting out toxic people out of your lives. That might have, for some reason, might have been a majority fire sign people. And I feel like you're learning to trust people again in this next chapter. And that's why the universe is sending you this cushion here in the near future, because the universe wants you to believe in the ability to trust people again. And you might, at first, especially if you're resonating with this part of the reading, flinch at that, because obviously if you've been betrayed a lot in the past, your idea of trusting other people, or the idea of it, I should say, kind of at first is like, oh, like, no thanks. I'm like, people betrayed me, they've backstabbed me too much. I don't know if I can trust people again. But this next chapter is about the universe reigniting that trust. Even just in tiny little ways. So I think, too, you might be meeting some people who will reinvigorate that trust. It kind of seemingly come out of nowhere, but really, I mean, at least in my personal belief, when it comes to things seemingly coming out of nowhere, it's really the universe is like, okay, here's the time to introduce this to Pile 2's life, okay? They want you to... I'm hearing they want you to believe in the magic again. The magic of other people is the first thing they're saying. The magic of you, specifically. Maybe you have kind of stopped believing in yourself in some ways recently too, so this next chapter also addresses that. And then there's one third thing Spirit is saying, give me one moment. The magic of life, but then also there's a fourth. They want you to believe in the magic. It's odd. They're saying of happenstance. And for some reason, the meaning of that word is fleeing me right now. So feel free to weigh down in the comments below if you immediately know what happenstance means. I think it usually means like by chance. To believe in the magic of happenstance, though, just to summarize, to say that more succinctly. So look into that, because like I said, I'm having a bit of a brain fart right now as to what that means exactly. But I think happenstance usually means by chance, if I'm not incorrect. So those are your themes too. Believe in the magic of you, life, others, and happenstance. Well, let's look at your main tarot cards too. This will be kind of a timeline of the next chapter as well. Excuse me, my voice is a bit scratchy. The King of Wands. He popped up again, pile 2. Look at that. It's called Branches in this deck, but that is the King of Wands, but this time he's upright. And he has mastered. It's interesting because this particular card is water. It's a water wheel, right? But he's mastered water, even though it traditionally is a fire card. Mastering our relationships, mastering our emotions, mastering the way that we derive value out of the flow of life. Because when you think of a water wheel, really what it does is it just takes the flow of the river and converts it into electricity or some sort of mechanical process, right? So this next chapter is about you being like that wheel, pile 2. It's you taking the things and the generous blessings that the universe will give you here in the near future and using them to power that energy again, just like a hydroelectric system would, like a water wheel, for example. And then 2, it's about reinvigorating, I think, your passion also your confidence, your outward confidence with people, your charisma too as well, if that's been feeling, of course, when you're burnt out, you don't really feel very charismatic or very passionate about things, very understandably, naturally, okay? It's not like a blaming thing, but it's funny how that was reversed before and then you got them upright. And it almost kind of makes me think of making lemons out of lemonade, or I'm sorry, not lemons out of lemonade, lemonade out of lemons. I spoke that round backwards. Taking those lemons that life gave you and turning them into lemonade. And then we have the 7 of Cups reversed, or 7 of Tides reversed. You are going to be doing a lot of recalibrating of what it is you actually want in life, because the 7 of Cups is often about decisions between our different dreams. I think you were following one dream before, and maybe recently you've been kind of hesitating on that pile too. Like you have been following it after a while, and you're kind of like, I don't know, like this isn't what I expected, or there's been more negative influence here, with all those court cards reversed, especially other people. Or it could have been too that you were feeling as if, like, I'm just not excited about this anymore. That's that burnout I was talking about. That makes total sense as to why in this next chapter you would be going through a 7 of Cups reversed energy. It's the feeling of like, okay, well, what do I want now? It's going to be a very guiding question for you in this next chapter. And I think that's also why the universe is protecting you a lot. Because it wants to give you that cushion and that space to answer that question and find something that you actually want to follow, instead of something that burns you out. And that's part of that moderation of temperance, remember? It's about balancing things again, okay? And then your next card in the middle here is the Magician reversed, okay? That can be a bit of advice as well as another lesson that you're working through, okay? Magician reversed can mean that we're struggling a little bit with manifesting things. And I think that's part of why. Is because you're not passionate about that thing, or it's not meant for you anymore, pile 2. And so you're going to be realizing, well, maybe that's why I was having this blockage in the recent past. In this next chapter, you'll be like, oh, okay, then I'll have that light bulb moment and click and be like, oh, okay, well, that's why. Because that really wasn't meant for me. And I really love this particular Magician card because I think it's a mine technically. Yeah, it looks like they've been mining out crystals, collecting those resources, manifesting things. But when it's reversed, it's like we aren't able to extract those resources. We aren't able to manifest the things that we're looking for. And I think once you realign with that light pile 2 in this next chapter, that's what will turn this Magician energy right side up. You deliberate between different dreams. And then you realize, okay, where can I go that does allow me to manifest what it is that I desire? Because maybe in this recent past, you have been sitting in a cave that's already been extracted. Maybe there are no crystals or minerals or ore left, metaphorically speaking, for you to derive from the soil there, or the earth. So you're also being encouraged to follow where you can find abundance, instead of having to make yourself sit in a cave that just no longer provides that for you, okay? Then in the near future position, we have the Fool reversed. You're not quite at a new beginning yet, though. You're not quite there. You're being encouraged in this next chapter, too, and this is part of your journey, this new trail. Wait before you make any big decisions, because the Fool reversed can be a piece of advice to not take risks quite yet. Doesn't mean you can't do something new yet. But this next chapter isn't so much about springing forward into the new thing that you're passionate about. It's about thinking and thinking and thinking deeply. Really, what do you really want from life? Like the Seven of Cups says. Where can you find abundance, like the Magician reversed suggests? And think before you act with the Fool reversed. Okay? You've got the cushion, but the cushion is for you to think. You might not jump into that new thing quite yet. Let's see what the last card is, though. And then we have the Ace of Swords reversed, or Spires as it's known in this particular deck. Usually means a new idea or a new direction, a new breakthrough. So this next chapter, of course, eventually you will go in this new direction, I think, pile 2, if you so choose, because as I always say in my tarot readings, you have free will. I will never say in a tarot reading that everything is completely already decided. A lot of tarot readings is a snapshot of the future at the time that you're receiving the message. Because with the Ace of Swords reversed, it means we're not quite at that breakthrough yet, even at the end of this next chapter. But that doesn't mean that you didn't make progress here in the near future. Because a lot of the progress you're making is not physical outward action, it's a complete recalibration of where the heck am I going and why. Maybe in life you tend to kind of go with the flow a bit, which isn't a bad thing. But maybe you tend to go with the flow. Maybe you tend to kind of go with what other people tell you to do, pile 2. Maybe you've always in the past had that, not so much that you didn't, like, that you completely disregarded your inner compass, but I think you're being encouraged in this time to really lean into blocking out those other opinions on where you should go. Society, family, friends, and look at your internal compass instead. Like, if you were to ask yourself right now, pile 2, what is it that I really, really want out of life? That's going to be your guiding question for answering a lot of these other questions that you'll be working through here in the near future. And at the end there with that Ace of Swords reversed, doesn't mean that you're quite at the breakthrough yet. Doesn't mean that you're going to immediately find the full answer of where you want to go next. But that's okay, because remember what the universe told you, what Spirit told you with the Alder tree. You are protected in this time. Remember the cushion thing they were telling you. We're giving you a cushion to figure these things out. You don't have to decide today. You don't have to take action today. And in fact, with the Fool reverse, they're telling you, maybe don't take action quite yet. Think it through very thoroughly. Okay? Trust that the universe has your back, that Spirit has your back, your guides as well, ancestors, etc. All this good spiritual energy around you that helps you and watches out for you is very close in this time here for you, because they know that this is pivotal for you to find that balance or that temperance again in life. So think deeply, think slowly, think carefully. And you'll find yourself, just like I was saying with the water wheel, on a trail or a path that will bring you to a life where you can extract the most out of what flows your way, okay? Instead of having to seek for just a speck of gold in an already mined out cave, continuing that metaphor, it'll be like the water wheel, where the resources and materials, like the water, is just flowing freely. And you can just sit there and collect it more rather than having to go and scrape out something in already dead earth. That's what I'm seeing metaphorically for you too, okay? Or as a metaphor. So, trust that it will take time, and trust that you'll find the right answer as long as you follow your inner compass, pile 2. And that's what your next chapter is all about. Slow processing. Even if it feels like you're not making progress, though, you will be. So, wonderful. That is your reading on your next chapter. I hope you liked it, it resonated, and of course, number 1, that it helped you. If so, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do those things. And as we always say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night, pile 2. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye. Hello there, pile number 3. Welcome to your next chapter reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the Headless Rider of folklore for your pile leader now. When I look at the Headless Rider, I of course think about, well, like any person or being riding on a horse, something happening with speed, something happening quickly. This ties a lot into, of course, the folklore of, there's actually multiple kind of headless rider stories from around the world, especially in, European and American culture, borrowing from European folk tales. Of course, we think of Sleepy Hollow, number one, but also I think there's a Scottish folk tale where there was a headless rider who, it's like, I think he was trying to get home from the market. So he rode so fast that I don't remember exactly the full story, but something happened, and then of course he became a headless rider in an accident. So it can warn against impulsiveness because of that, racing too fast. But what I'm hearing from Spirit is you have a little bit more of a positive twist on this reading, or this card I should say, for your next chapter, in that this next chapter is about things happening a lot more quickly. If things have been very slow, pile 3, in the recent past, you're going to find this near future to be happening a lot quicker. Okay, so with that in mind, we'll of course look at your other cards. First up, you have some tarot cards. Spirit, can you tell me more about the major themes of the next chapter for pile 3? Thank you. Other than things happening very quickly. We do see that. Number 1, we have the 10 of Pentacles upright. Very positive time here in the near future for you in terms of inheritance, in terms of success with money or career, in terms of legacy and also family matters. That's another common theme with the 10 of Pentacles. We also see the King of Swords can be a person, and a King of Swords is usually as a person. Masculine, air sign. Tends to be a little bit older, comes off as more mature. Can also mean the energy too, though, of seeing things very clearly, especially in the world around you. Dust finally clearing, things seeming less chaotic. Logic, of course, is another one of his keywords, so therefore it's like the world kind of makes more logical sense in the near future too. We'll keep going, but so far seems like a very good next chapter for you, pile 3. And then we have Judgment, okay, and especially upright, it can mean positive judgment. So spiritual growth, I see that. But also Judgment, I say, is always a level up card to me. Like we're leveling up in life, things progressing. So once again, we see things going very well, and also with, of course, saying progressing, it means that progress I was talking about with the Headless Rider, things happening quickly. Then last but not least, we have the 7 of Cups reversed. Okay, so that can be a little bit of one lesson you're going to have to kind of learn, or one thing you might have to work through in this next chapter, but otherwise, pretty sterling across the board. You might be the most positive reading today, pile 3, in terms of especially themes that came out here in the first initial tarot spreads. So yes, we have themes of things going well with career and finances and security, especially where it concerns your family or things that are related to generational inheritance, things passed down. That's this 10 of Pentacles theme there. And then, as I said, too, things making more logical sense, things being less chaotic and more structured, orderly, making, a little bit less chaotic than it was, I think, in the past. And, I wonder, some of you, I'm feeling as if it's not necessarily that this next chapter is like that much faster in terms of things being chaotic. It's just that up until this point, I think a lot of you, I'm feeling or I'm hearing things were fast, but it was like super out of control, chaotic. And this is more a tempered, structured progression, quickness. I wonder if you might get the 8 of Wands later. If you're familiar with tarot, that's kind of the card I'm feeling, or the energy I'm feeling off of this particular reading with that. It's like, yes, it's quick, but it's calm quick. Everything has been accounted for in terms of crossing your T's and dotting your I's. I wonder if a lot of you have been actually planning this level up and things progressing, in which case I'll tell you this, if you've been doing a lot of planning recently, pile 3, it's going to go off without a hitch. You're going to have very happy progression here with these cards. And also, I think you might find success quicker than you're expecting with your goals in this next chapter too, because of that quickness of the Headless Rider as well. And then the 7 of Cups reversed is a bit of an interesting twist. As I said, it might be something you have to work through. A little bit of a lesson here in the near future. And the 7 of Cups reversed can mean really redefining what is it that we want in life. And I think sometimes that card comes up for people when it's like, yeah, they've been kind of waffling, they're not sure what they want to do, or something's not working out. I think for you, pile 3, yours is more oriented in the way of this next chapter being, okay, I got the thing that I wanted. What now? It's like a positive recalibration. Very, very good kind of, okay, I achieved the thing I wanted to do, or the next goal. Okay, what's the next goal? Okay, you got from A, you got to B, and now you're like, okay, what is C? So it's that kind of recalibration here with the 7 of Cups reversed. So it's technically a lesson, but it's kind of a happy lesson to be able to go through. Okay, so let's keep going with your other cards. We'll look at your Dream Ritual Oracle. Spirit, what else do you want to tell pile 3 about this seemingly wonderful next chapter? Any other themes? Thank you. We have, remember. Looks like a very cozy spot there. Little garden, looks like there's tea or coffee, I can't quite tell. I guess it really depends on if you're a coffee or tea person. Whatever you prefer, it's that. We have remember the past, which is interesting because we have the 10 of Pentacles, which is about generational inheritance, things passing down. So I also see a lot of positive developments with family, for those of you still in contact with family and have good relationships with your family, and or people from your past, even if they're not technically blood related to you. Remembering something, returning to something. A lot of you, your goals might actually be regaining something that you had lost. Let me tap in for a second. I'm going to ask for a message specifically. I don't know why, but they're showing me a boat. And I know that's very random, pile 3. Some of you might really resonate with that. You'll be like, oh, I get what that means. Is it like a family boat? Or if not like a literal boat, it's like the ability to carry your family again, or carry the people you care about again. Like bearing them across the waters. It's like a boat going across a river and making it across just fine and safely. Oh, you know what it is? Okay, hear me out, pile 3. I know when I said boat, some of you were like, what the heck? They're telling me for some of you, it's like you knew this transition was coming. Maybe that's that level up I was talking about with Judgment. You knew the transition was coming and you were like, uh-oh. Am I going to be able to make it across? And if loved ones are involved, am I going to make sure that my loved ones are going to be able to make it across with this transition just fine? And that's what the Spirit is saying, is that yes, you're going to find that thing, that boat that will carry you across very safely. It almost reminds me, and this is such an obscure reference, but for those of you that, I don't know if it was published in other countries in the world, but in America we had a game when I was young. It was a very 1990s game. It's called the Oregon Trail. Maybe you've even played it, but at least in when I was in elementary school, it was a game that oftentimes we would play when you were done with your homework or your classwork, right? And basically it was simulating carrying your family across the entire westward expansion of the United States with the pioneers to make sure that they all survived that trip. And sometimes you would come across a river and you had to decide, am I going to pay for a ferry? Am I going to secure the wagon and have it just float across? And you had to kind of wait to see how deep and how fast the river was that day. So I feel like you've been in an Oregon Trail kind of phase of your life, pile 3, just to, I know it's kind of a roundabout explanation, but I just want to explain that's kind of how the game works if you haven't played it. You've been in that Oregon Trail kind of situation. And it's like, okay, what are the currents? How fast is this metaphorical river going in terms of, are the conditions right for us to make this transition or this move, or for me to make this move too, even if it's just yourself and not including your loved ones. But I think for a lot of you, it does include other people. And the universe is saying, yes, you're going to handle that just fine. But it's odd because there's some generational thing too there with Remember and the 10 of Pentacles. And I think that's why the Oregon Trail came up specifically, because that's an old-timey game kind of even it depicts, I don't know, can't remember exactly what decade in U.S. history, but 1800s, I think, or somewhere around there. And so some of you are making moves too that are more traditional because of that Remember card. I don't know if you're going to a more traditional lifestyle or a more traditional job that's not like a modern like desk or computer oriented job. It's something along those lines where you're doing something in an old way, I think, a lot of you. So you're going to make it fine. To use the Oregon Trail as a reference. It's going to sound weird if you haven't played the game, but I promise you won't get dysentery along the way with whatever it is you're trying to transition with, okay? All right, let's see what the main timeline is here too from the main tarot spread. Thank you, Spirit. Let's see what else they want to say. We have, okay, the Devil. So that's the very beginning. You're going to be working through feeling as if, I think this is kind of where you're at right now, pile 3. You've been kind of trapped in some way, and it's funny how I talked about moving to like a more traditional lifestyle, or like the Oregon Trail was like moving from civilization to the wild west where things weren't quite settled yet in the United States. The Devil depicts a city. So it's like you're in the city right now, or metaphorically speaking, in a city of some sort where it feels kind of cramped. It feels like it isn't big enough for your dreams. And in the beginning of this next chapter, you're still kind of working through that at the very beginning. Okay. All right. Let's see. We have next the King of Pentacles reversed. Okay. That could mean too that a lot of the next chapter, at least at the beginning, is you working through how do I secure the finances for this, because the King of Pentacles reversed in that position with this situation can mean we're trying to decide, okay, like, is everything stable yet? Do I have all the money we need yet for this? Do I have everything ready, so to speak? Okay. Just like in the Oregon Trail game, you had to make sure you bought all your supplies before you set out. So we're in that trapped feeling. We're in the, okay, we gotta scramble, gotta collect all the money, gotta figure it out. And two, it's interesting, this particular King of Stones or Pentacles has a clock. And I wonder if that's why some of you were feeling like everything was so chaotic. Because like I'm working against the clock to find that right exact time to make that transition. Just like you do in the Oregon Trail, trying to figure out what's the best time to cross the river. And then we have, oh interesting, we have Judgment reversed now. Okay. Could be a lesson too. Could mean that kind of in the middle of this next chapter, we're not quite at the level up yet, so to speak. And this particular Judgment is, oh, it's New Orleans. Very beautiful. It's one of the, a lot of the graveyards there have those mausoleums above ground. Very beautiful. Never been there. Would love to go there someday, but it's even a jazz player up on the balcony here. Maybe some of you are moving to Louisiana, New Orleans, American South, something like that. Yeah, Judgment reversed. Some of you might also be fearing Judgment too as a part of this next chapter. Maybe this move that you're making is other people aren't necessarily agreeing with it, or other people have been doubting it. Maybe you're fearing, because reverse judgment can mean like we fear a negative judgment of some sort. We also fear too that we're not going to be able to make this move. There's just so much fear around these cards being reversed here, pile 3. No wonder why you've been like worried. But your first tarot spread cards are assuring me that, especially because Judgment came up right earlier and now it's reversed, it's like it kind of cancels it out. Let's keep going. We'll see what the next card is. Oftentimes the cards around it kind of explain more. We have the 3 of Cups. Okay, we have a family or a school of dolphins. It's good, positive social moves. Good, positive social situations as well in this next chapter. Almost kind of makes me think of a family of dolphins. So that tells me, pile 3, especially those of you resonating with this as like a family move or like a group move of some sort, that it's more towards the end of the next chapter that you'll see that movement. And look at those dolphins. They're so happy. They're like, okay, yep, this is the right time. We're going to keep moving to greener pastures, or I should say maybe bluer waters because, ocean, right? But, and there's, that's the thing is dolphins are always associated with happiness. And great communication, too, being how intelligent they are in terms of the animal world. Also, too, for those of you moving, it's a better place for you socially, too. I don't know if that's part of what felt stifling about where you are right now, be it a job or a certain city you're moving away from, but it's going to be a lot better for you in terms of those things at the end there. And then we have the 10 of Cups reversed. Now, that traditionally would be a negative card. That would mean we didn't find a happily ever after. But what I'm going to do, pile 3, is I'm going to draw a clarifier on that because I'm curious as to what they mean by that. I wonder if it means that there's still some tweaking to be done after you do this move. which is normal anytime you move, but Spirit, what do you mean by the Ten of Cups reversed here at the end? Let's see, we have the Three of Wands upright, which usually means acting on our plans. Oopsie, sorry, didn't mean to drop that over there. I have my timer on a phone on to the side, so just wanted to make sure that it was still on the screen. Okay, and then we have the Four of Wands. Celebration, security in the home. So here's the thing, pile 3. I'm not going to be a dishonest tarot reader and tell you that the Ten of Cups reversed doesn't mean, or that means it's going to be like happy ever after, everything's great, right? I do see the move and this progress being good because of the top cards up here, but I will be honest, there's still something to be tweaked after you get there. Three of Cups upright is great in terms of, okay, yes, the move is wonderful. Things are socially moving along. People are communicating well. It's a social fit for you in a good way. But there is something to still be tweaked when you get there in terms of, I wonder if, especially for those of you moving literally, there's something with what you were planning on with the home that might need to be tweaked a little bit. Because the Three of Wands is about, I've made a plan and now I'm taking action. And the Four of Wands is about security, stability, happiness in the home. There's still something to be a little bit changed there. I almost wonder, oh, you know what? That's probably it. You might need to tweak your decision based on the amount of money required because of that King of Pentacles reversed. And that's why Judgment reversed came out here. It's not the happily ever after that you were expecting because you'll have to tweak it a little bit. But that doesn't mean that where you end up isn't just as good or better than where you were planning. So I think that's what they mean by the happily ever after being dashed here with the Ten of Cups at the very end. It's after this progress is made, you're not going to end up exactly where you were picturing. But that doesn't mean it's bad, pile 3, because you have the Three of Wands and the Four of Wands, which means we found somewhere stable. We found somewhere happy that's good with the home, okay? We found somewhere where we're able to move forward with our plans and take action on them. It's just, it might not align with what you're picturing right now at this moment in time. And I think that's where that King of Swords influence comes in here. Because I think that's a lot of that thinking energy and structuring energy that you might need to kind of recalibrate everything. In fact, that's a very common theme across all the piles today. There's a lot of recalibration for everybody in the next chapter of their lives. I don't know if that's kind of just major energy for everybody going here in the near future. Anyone that's more familiar with like everything going on astrologically in the near future, feel free to comment down below if you know why. I think I might have heard we're going into retrograde here, or we already did. I don't know. I'm not as up to date on astrological stuff, so if you know that down in the comments, feel free to weigh in. But yeah, it's just like, it's still good though because of that happiness with the Three of Cups. It's still a great time for a group of people. Just not exactly what you pictured. I will ask one last question for you though, pile 3. Spirit, can you tell me, do they end up somewhere better anyways? Because that's what I'm feeling intuitively, but I just want to reassure you, pile 3, as well as myself here as the reader, so. Yes, look at that. We have the star. Okay, that just confirms what I was telling you, pile 3. So yes. Because at first I would hesitate and be like, well, Ten of Cups reversed usually isn't the best outcome. But then with the 3 and 4 of Wands having come out, I'm like, well, actually, though, it might be more stable and better than you were expecting. And then I said, Spirit, is it what I'm seeing? Is that it actually ends up being better? Yes, you got the star. The star is good things. The star is hope. The star is faith. And reading it as just a blunt yes or no question card, star upright is a very positive yes card. So when you saw the Ten of Cups reversed, don't get nervous, pile 3. Really what it means is you're recalibrating here. It doesn't show up the way that you want to, or you're not going exactly to the place that you wanted to because there's something better for you that you'll find instead. Okay. So just keep that in mind when plans get dashed here in your next chapter. It doesn't mean plans are dashed in terms of, uh-oh, I'm never going to get the thing or go to the place or achieve the goal that I want. It's that the universe has something better for you, maybe even better than you expected, hence the hope meaning of the star for you in this next chapter, okay? So expect that steady, fast progress. Expect, of course, all the positive things I was talking about. moving away from stifling places to places even better than you were expecting, or goals that were better than you were expecting, okay? And yeah, that level up too with the Judgment card. It's not the level up you were expecting, but it's a level up nonetheless. And you'll handle it just fine with that King of Swords energy. That's a very smart, intelligent energy pile 3. In fact, you might be an air sign, not sure, but wonderful. So that was a reading today on your next chapter. We kind of zigzagged around a little bit, which is kind of illustrative of your next chapter, of zigzagging around between maybe some different goals and etc., waiting for things to come along and judging the conditions like you would on the Oregon Trail game. Is the river flowing fast today? Is it too hot? Do I make the oxen go faster or go slower, etc.? But you weather through just fine. It's going to be a successful Oregon Trail for you, metaphorically speaking. So yes, I hope you liked the reading. I hope it resonated. I hope that it helped you, of course, number one. If so, please like, please comment, please subscribe to Lone Pine Tarot if you haven't done so already. And I'm eternally grateful, and thank you so much if you choose to do those things. And as we say in our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night, and I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye, Pile 3.